Welcome to the Missouri Valley Football Teleconference. My name is Vanessa, and I will be your conference operator today. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. If you would like to ask a question, press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. If you would like to withdraw your question, press the pound key. Thank you. Mr. Kern, please go ahead.
Thank you, Vanessa. Appreciate it. Let's go ahead and get started. We do have our first coach on the line with us. Eric Wolford of Youngstown State is joining us from Youngstown, Ohio. Illinois State traveling there this weekend for a game that will be seen on Comcast and MyYTV in Youngstown, Ohio. Morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Congratulations on your win in Terre Haute last week, a big road victory, and talk a little bit about the Redbirds as they come to town this weekend.
Well, thank you. Road wins are always hard to come by in this league, but we had a little weather delay. First time we've had that experience, at least during the middle of the game, so that was a little bit different. But, we got Illinois State coming to town, Brock's back, obviously good football coach, start there. You can see he's got his hands on the defense quite a bit. Had an outstanding game last week against Western Illinois. They held them to 211 total yards. I think it was like 70 yards rushing they held them to. And then offensively, they had a big game. They came out and ran the football very well. Got around 180, 185 yards rushing. Possessed the football, held the football for 40 minutes. And that's always a big indicator of who's going to win the football game, as long as you're taking care of the football. And, they play outstanding on special teams, very well coached, have a good scheme. And, we're going to have to mix some things up there because, if you just continue to do the same things over and over again, they're going to know where you're supposed to be.
Thank you, Coach. Let's go ahead and open it up for some questions for Coach Eric Wolford, questions from the media.
Your first question comes from the line of Randy Reinhardt from Bloomington.
Good morning, Coach.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Coach, I know you have a veteran quarterback and a young running back that has really emerged. Can you talk about how those two have really worked together to make, along with everybody else on the offense, obviously, but those two in particular, how they have worked together to make your offense effective this year?
Well, Kurt played a lot of football around here, and he started as a freshman, so he can relate to what it's like to play here as a freshman. Martin Ruiz is very mature, and that's the best thing that I can say about him. A lot of times when you get these kids out of high school, they feel entitled maybe sometimes. They feel privileged, and he doesn't have that type of mentality. He's a hard worker, does things right. He's a student of the game. Football is important to him, and that's the biggest thing that I see with him. Martin Ruiz is more mature than a lot of upperclassmen even, as far as just his everyday approach. And that's a compliment to him and his family, and that's why he's had success. He's not just excited to, play 10 or 15 plays a game. He wants to play and play well.
Is Martin more of a power back, a speed back? How would you describe him?
He can do both. He's 200 pounds. Obviously, you can see that he's very fast. At the same time, he runs really well between the tackles, and he can slam it up in there.
Okay, thank you.
Your next question comes from the line of Jeff Kolbach from Fargo Forum.
Hey, Eric, is it a little early for you to exercise some bracketology, or is it okay to start looking at those kinds of things?
Nah. As you know, Jeff, last year we were 4-0 after we beat Northern Iowa. Everybody thought we were going to win the national championship, beat Pitt early, beat Northern Iowa the first time in 11 years. We kind of learned our lesson about that kind of stuff. We just take it one day at a time, one game at a time around here, and just worry about getting better every day. that's the thing we got to do. We got to continue just to get better and obsess about fundamentals and do little things right.
Okay, thank you.
Coach, that was your final question. Good luck against Illinois State this weekend.
All right. You boys
okay,
have a good day.
All right, you too. Next coach joining us is Joe Glenn of South Dakota. South Dakota winning last week against Missouri State with a late field goal to win 17-14 at home. Back at home again this week, facing Indiana State, visiting to Vermillion for the first time. Morning, Joe.
Good morning.
How are you?
Real good.
Good. Let's talk about Indiana State. They're another tough league opponent coming to town. Their first visit up to South Dakota and Vermillion, and talk a little bit about this game this weekend.
Well, first of all, they've had one of the tougher schedules in the league, as far as I can tell, having played a couple Big Ten teams and Youngstown and Tennessee Tech, pretty good football team in the OVC. So hard to tell. They were really young on defense and playing hard. And then I think they've had some injuries, offensively that maybe have changed what they can do game to game. When the quarterback, his numbers come up, he lighten it up big. Mike's done a great job with that guy. And, of course, the big question mark is, will Shakir play and how is his health? And he's absolutely one of the most special players I've ever coached against. He's so strong for his size. And so whether he's in and playing or whether he's not, I think that makes a difference. But they sure picked it up in the passing game with Mike Parrish, and so I have a lot of respect for them. They beat us down last year at their house, so we've got some work to do.
Thanks, Coach. Let's go ahead and open it up now for questions for Coach Joe Glenn of South Dakota.
Your first question comes from the line of Jeremy Powick.
Joe, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy.
Well, Indiana State, what kind of challenge does that give your defense, especially against the pass?
Well, anybody that's seen their tape sees they can move it through the air, they can move it on the ground, and it'll be a big challenge. They are more experienced on offense, and it's an area that Mike's good at. I know Coach Sanford. We've coached against each other in the past, and he's always been heavily involved in his offense and has always done a good job. So it will be a test for our defense. There's no doubt, but I do have to tell you, our defense is playing better than I could have imagined, doing a good job. Numbers are down, and they're competing at a very high level, and they'll have to play the first half without Tyler Starr, who I think is having a banner season. He set out the second half, some of the second half against Missouri State for a shot to the quarterback, and he will have to sit out the first half of the next game as part of the penalty for that shot. And so that will hurt. We'll have to play, get somebody in there to help us out and see if we can stay in the game for a half.
And then, Joe, is there some sort of appeal process with the Tyler Starr thing?
Is there some, what?
Is there some sort of appeal process you can go through with that?
Well, yeah, they look at it and they determine whether or not it was a helmet-to-helmet and a targeting. And really, he did not target. He did not hit him in the helmet. He actually hit him below the helmet, and then as he came through, went on through the chin and up. So you can call it targeting, but he didn't target the helmet with his helmet. But the whole, the crux of it is we've got to get our hits lower and take the head out of it, and that's exactly what I understand about Tyler's hit. So he'll take it, but it wasn't a targeting shot by him launching at the helmet. It was a hit that ended up including the head.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification, Joe.
Yep.
Your next question comes from the line of Nick Gary from Argus Leader.
Had a couple guys last week who limped off the field. How are they doing, Murtha and Swift?
Well, I think they're probably done for the season. The MRI isn't final yet on both of them, but they have MCLs, and we'll just have to go on, and the next guy up have to pick it up.
Kind of tough to see a couple of seniors like that end their seasons the way they did then.
Actually, Tom is back, but Murtha is done. He had a same surgery last year, so he's probably done in every way he can be done. It's very, very disappointing. An MCL surgery after the third or fourth game last year, and then this will finish his career. So he's a guy that's very down, and but he was at the line meeting this morning at 7:00, and going to be a trooper.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Coach, that was your final question. Thank you for your time this morning. Good luck against Indiana State on Saturday.
Thank you very much.
Okay, bye-bye. South Dakota State is headed on the road to play Western Illinois in Macomb on Saturday. The game will be featured on the league's television networks. 3 o'clock start from Macomb. Morning, Coach.
All right.
Well, let's talk about Western Illinois and what you need to do to get back on the winning track here with the game at Macomb.
Well, number one, they're a good football team. Coach Nielsen and his staff have done a really good job. And so it's going to be hard. What we need to focus on is playing up to our potential. I have no problems losing football games if they play up to our potential. What eats away at you as a coach is when you don't execute the defense, you don't execute your reads on offense, and then you start losing confidence. So we got to get our confidence back, go play our best football, and see what happens.
Thank you, Coach. Let's go ahead and open it up now for questions for Coach John Stiegelmeier, questions from the media.
Your first question comes from the line of Terry Vanderbeck from Argus Leader.
Coach Bob Nielsen's sort of an old NCC guy, but your times didn't quite match up, I don't think. Have you ever faced one of his teams before?
I have not. I think I visited with him once on the phone, but I've always respected the programs he's run and the success he's had.
Okay. And any injury update this week yet?
Chase Douglas is going to do a little bit more this week, early in the week, and we'll see. We hope to have him on the bus. Classic is still out. That's really it. We continue to be blessed injury-wise.
Thanks.
Yep.
Coach, light week for you this week. Only question in the queue for you, so thank you for your time. Good luck at Western. We will see you on Saturday.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Okay. All right. See you, Dick. Let's go next to Terry Allen of Missouri State. Missouri State playing at the number 1 ranked North Dakota State in Fargo on Saturday, 1 o'clock kickoff in Fargo. Morning, Coach.
You there?
Yep. Hello. Hi, Coach. How are you?
I'm fine. Hello.
Good. Well, let's talk about the Bison, and obviously an excellent football team. They've set a league record for 14 consecutive victories. Close game at your place last year. Talk a little bit about the game on Saturday.
Well, obviously North Dakota State's a great football team. You just if you didn't have to play them, you'd have all the respect in the world for them. I think they're fundamentally sound in all aspects of it: offense, defense, special teams. They've got the veteran quarterback. did a great job, obviously in the K-State game, but then again last week against UNI, 2 drives in the fourth quarter and taking the victory. They're just an outstanding football team.
Thank you, Coach. Let's go to the questions from the media for Coach Terry Allen.
Your first question comes from the line of Jeff Kolpak from Fargo Forum.
Morning, Jeff.
Yeah. Terry, how would you describe your quarterback play this year?
Spotty. He does some good things, but we just need to get more consistent play out of Kiera.
And I say this every year, I think, but you play him tougher than a lot of teams. Why do you think that is?
I think probably we know each other pretty well as far as what each other's going to do because of our coaching backgrounds, and our players get excited about playing North Dakota State because of the great tradition.
I think a couple of years ago you traveled same day. Is that something you're going to consider this year?
No, that was when we played at night up there. We actually, with the homecoming and 1 o'clock start, we'll come in Friday night.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You bet.
Your next question comes from the line of Mike McFeely from KFGO Radio.
Hey, Terry, I know this is ancient history, but so many years ago, you were offered the job at North Dakota State to be the coach when they were making the transition to Division I. Do you recall what your discussions were like and why you, at that time, said no thank you to NDSU?
Oh, that is a long time ago. Actually, at the time, they just weren't allowed to come into the Big Sky and talk to the people at the Valley, which was the gateway then, and they didn't think they'd get in there. I thought it'd be a difficult situation without a league to be in. Obviously, that didn't happen, but so that was really the focal point of it at that time.
And I know that this is a tough question to answer because you have a job and you enjoy your job, but do you ever look back at that and with any regret or any questions that you maybe should have taken the chance and taken a leap?
You can't look in the rearview mirror. You always got to look forward.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
Your next question comes from the line of Lyndall Bratton from Springfield News.
How's Ryan Heason? How close are you to getting him back?
Well, we're going to see this week. He did some things last week. He was feeling pretty good, so we're going to give him a couple goes here on Tuesday and Wednesday, and we'll know for sure on Thursday.
How would you describe just what his addition would mean to the offense? Losing him in the first quarter of the opener was a pretty big blow. Yeah,
he was our starter coming in. He was detrimental when we lost him last year. I think he'd had 2 consecutive 100-yard rushing games against some pretty good defenses at Indiana State and South Dakota State. So it'd be great to get him back. Hopefully that'll happen, and we sure could use him.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, that was your final question. Good luck in Fargo and at North Dakota State on Saturday.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, bye-bye. We're just a couple minutes ahead of our next coaching's time slot, but we're going to go ahead and have Brock Spack from Illinois State join us now. Illinois State is at Youngstown State, the Penguins nationally ranked, and both polls with a high of 16 in the Coaches Poll. Morning, Coach.
Morning. How are you, Mike?
Good. Talk about Youngstown State. You guys have had some crazy games the last couple of years.
Yeah, we've had some wild games against them. It's a great storied tradition, obviously a great program, and obviously a lot of fun to play. We've had a wild one last year. We had to come from behind to win, and that kind of seems to be the story. The fourth quarter is kind of wild in this game. But they're a very good football team, obviously led by a very experienced quarterback and who's playing very well, and they're playing well everywhere. That's why they're nationally ranked. They're a very good team, and we're going to have our hands full to try to figure out a way to stop them on defense and try to move football offensively. They're very good. So very talented.
Thanks, Brock. Wolf mentioned this, but last year they were sitting at 4-0, and then they went to Fargo and lost the game, and then their team had a long losing streak, and I think the team is focused on not letting that happen again with somebody coming up and beating him and then going through a downside and the playoffs escaping from them. Talk a little bit about his comments, and then we'll open it up for some questions.
Well, I don't know, his team very well, but I'm sure I forgot, I didn't get to follow him that close after we played him a year ago, but it sounded like from the comments that he's, obviously we all do at this time of year. You're trying to keep your kids focused on the next game and not get too far ahead of themselves. I think that's important. On our playoff on a year ago, we took it one game at a time, and that's how you take every game. I think it's how we do it every season. So I think that's what he's probably trying to get at right there, is trying to keep his team focused on the task at hand, and that's playing us. And as we're doing the same, trying to keep our players focused on them and not get ahead of yourself. So I think that's critical.
Thank you, Coach. Let's go ahead and open it up now for questions from the media for Coach Brocksback.
Your first question comes from the line of Kevin Cappy from Peoria Journal-Star.
Morning, Brock.
Morning, Kevin. How are you?
Fine, thanks. Obviously, the quality of their teams have had a lot to do with it, but it's always difficult for teams to go up and win up at Youngstown. What makes it so up there?
Yeah, I think that's what you said is probably very accurate. Is that they're used to winning and they've been very good. So it's hard to it's, when you play a team on the road, you have to play very well and protect the football and do all the little things fundamentally that you have to do to win a game. And their players have a lot to say about that. They're usually a very talented team, and no different this year. So, and they have a tradition. It's a very nice stadium, and they have a strong tradition of winning at home. So they're a handful, and like all good programs, they're tough at home. So. It'll be fun. That's we enjoy this part of it. It's what we sign up for, and we'll see what we got for them.
Thanks.
You bet.
Coach, quick quarterback comparison. Of course, we've had in the last few years, we've had quarterbacks that have been freshmen that have repeatedly set the league's all-time record for freshman passing, and you've got a freshman out there with Blake, and talk a little bit about his progress, and then compare him to Kurt. Kurt was a freshman quarterback for Youngstown State back 4 years ago.
Yeah, 4 years ago he was our guy. Had his best game so far last week, and I thought he threw the ball well, made good decisions, and had 0 interceptions. So. He's only thrown 1 pick and 3 starts, which is, knock on wood, that's been very good. That's been our bugaboo, That's why we made the change at quarterback, because I think we threw 4 or 5 with the other guys, so we just felt that, we have to protect the football first, and he's done a good job of that. The 1 interception he had was, he threw it to the right person. He kind of led the receiver a little too far and hit the safety behind him. So he's been throwing to the right people and taking care of the ball and doing a good job managing our offense. Blake was a very good player in high school. Was our player of the year in our state. He's not a real big guy. He's a little different. Hess is a little bigger guy. Kurt's probably at least 6'2" or 3", I'd imagine, and our guy's not quite that tall. He's only about 5'10" and a half. But he does spin the ball well, and he's really smart and a great student, and just a smart guy. And he gets out of trouble with his feet better than I anticipated him being. He's just a good football player that way. He has a sixth sense of when the play breaks down, he'll keep himself alive in the pocket and do those things that a lot of quarterbacks do naturally. He has that, and that's good. And Kurt was like that when he was a young player. I thought he did a really nice job of keeping himself alive in the pocket. Now he's older. He does it more with his arm. He does his feet, but he can still do it with his feet. They obviously want a little option with him, and so he must be very comfortable with his athleticism because I thought he has improved more than any player. And I told Coach this last year. I think that guy's improved more than any player I've seen at any level of football. Even when I was in the Big Ten, from one year to the next, from his freshman year to his sophomore year, he became a really good player, and I think he's very accurate, and he's been an excellent player for him. He protects the ball well, doesn't throw many interceptions. He's He's just really smart. He knows the offense inside. Now they don't change, and that's what good teams do. They don't change a whole lot, and they just kind of do some things with formations and all that stuff, and try to get you screwed up with your alignments. But he's very good at execution, and he's a very accurate thrower, and I really like him. And I think he's a strong competitor and just a really good player. Anytime you have a really good team, you got to have a good quarterback, and that's what gives you now when you play with a young guy, and you know that you will have growing pains. You know, Blake had a tough outing at Missouri State, and I know things will happen when you play with a freshman quarterback, and that you just have to understand that as a coach, and hopefully there's not many of them, but there are going to be days like that. So, I think the older they get, the less that happens, and but our guys, the different, probably a little different style player, maybe than Kurt, but they're both very effective. So,
Coach, thank you so much for your comments this morning, and good luck at Youngstown.
Well, thanks for having me on. You have a good day. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Let's go next to Coach Bob Nielsen of Western Illinois. Western Illinois hosting South Dakota State, and a game where both teams are sitting at 3-3. A game will be featured on the Valley Television Network on Saturday at 3 o'clock from Macomb. Good morning, Coach.
Morning.
Talk a little bit about South Dakota State. That's a pretty good football team at 3-3. They have lost 3 in a row, but you look at who they've played and how they've lost, and certainly a very formidable opponent coming to Macomb.
Outstanding football team. A team that's very experienced, very talented, very physical, extremely well coached. Another big challenge for our team and our program.
Thank you, Coach. Let's go ahead and open it up for some questions for Coach Bob Nielsen, questions from the media.
Your first question comes from the line of Terry Vandrovic from the Argus Leader Media.
Hey, Coach, I know it's a process, taking over a program. Everything doesn't get implemented in 1 year, but what are some of the things some of the changes you think that have taken hold, sort of early here in your first season that you wanted to implement?
Well, we're playing with a lot of young guys. When you play with a lot of young guys, you expect them to get better every week. I think in a lot of respects that we have, we've done a good job of, not beating ourselves, in that we haven't made a lot of gross mistakes. Unfortunately we've had a few too many penalties, but done a decent job, looking at turnover margins and things like that, and making some plays and being solid in the kicking game. Obviously, we've got to be more productive offensively. We had one good quarter Saturday, and you're not going to beat good teams with one good quarter offensively. Like I say, it's a process. You try to get better every day, try to get better every week, and we've taken some steps forward. Certainly not as rapidly as we would like.
And when you're facing a team that's coming off a losing streak like this, and you've got them at your place, it's homecoming, I feel like the start can be especially important.
Well, you always want to get off to a good start, and that's what we didn't do last week. We played. Illinois State jumps out 14-0 lead at halftime, and was proud of the way our guys battled back and got ourselves back into the football game, made it competitive. You'd like to play from the lead all the time. At the same time, you're not going to be able to do that in this league. You're going to have to be able to try to find a way to win games in a variety of different ways, and that's the thing that. That's where we have to get to right now as a program is, find more ways to win games and win games when they're tight.
Sure. And last thing, what do you feel like is sort of your offensive identity at this point? You've got obviously the transfer quarterback and a little bit of an experienced running back.
Yeah. Well, we're still trying to find that. I think that's we didn't. We've had some games where we rushed the ball fairly well. We haven't responded as well in terms of some of the balance components, throwing the football. We made some plays in the third quarter last week, but we're still finding that identity. We want to be a balanced football team. I think we need to be a balanced football team, particularly this year with where we're at, to move the football against quality defense like what South Dakota State's going to bring town.
Sure. Thanks, Coach.
Your next question comes from the line of Kevin Cappy from Peoria Journal-Star.
Morning, Coach.
Morning.
Obviously, in this league, any of the games are tough. Does it make it a little bit tougher with a team coming in 0-2 that was picked to be fairly high up in the league?
Well, I don't know if the record really means anything different. They're a really good football team, well deserving of where they're ranked based on their talent and who they've played. Obviously, you got to scramble for wins in this league. You every week, as most of the coaches get on here and talk about, every week you're playing a football team that if you don't play your best football, has an opportunity to beat you. And with South Dakota State, they're a little different type of team than the first two in terms of what their strengths are, and so we've got to do what we can to try to match those strengths and find some ways that we can create some opportunity.
Thanks.
Your next question comes from the line of Scott Holland from the McDonough County Voice.
Good morning, Coach.
Morning.
You kind of mentioned the slow start that kind of plagued you last week. What are some of the things that you tried to maybe incorporate with Trenton this week to get him a little bit more confidence earlier in the game and get him ready to go out of the chute?
It just goes back that the more he plays, the more he sees. I thought the first half we probably could have done a better job, from a coaching standpoint. When we go in at halftime and really just come back and execute better the same stuff that we tried to do in the first half, and we maybe went a little bit into panic mode, and I think he went a little bit into panic mode, and it's one of those things when you play more, the game slows down a little bit. The game was going really fast for him in the first half, and you make one play, and all of a sudden he sees things better and starts making some good adjustments and better throws, and so ideally you'd like to have young quarterbacks make a couple plays early in the game to help build their confidence, and hopefully that's what we can do Saturday is get him into rhythm a little bit sooner.
Thank you, Coach.
Coach, that was your final question. We will see you on Saturday. Best of luck against the Jackrabbits.
Okay, thanks.
All right, bye-bye. Craig Bohl, the head coach at North Dakota State, has joined us. The Bison playing host to Missouri State on Saturday. It's a 1 o'clock kick from Fargo. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Talk a little bit about Missouri State and the problems they pose. Their record's 1-5, but if you look at the results and how close they've been, they could easily be much different than that. Talk a little bit about the game on Saturday.
Well, Terry has kind of summed up their team, and I agree with him. They're a very dangerous football team. We've had close games with them, and for the most part, I think we're 3-2 since we've been in the league, and so we're anticipating, another really tight ball game here. Schematically, we've had problems from time to time moving against a 3-4 defense, and they've got stout guys that are inside. Offensively, I think the quarterback has posed problems for us. When he can get hot, he can make plays with his legs or his arms. That always stresses the defense. And so, we got a great deal of respect for Missouri State, our players, and know that we've been in dogfights many times, and we're going to have to play well to have a chance to win.
Thank you, Craig. Let's go ahead and open it up for some questions from the media for Coach Craig Bohl.
Your first question comes from the line of Lindale Scranton from Springfield News.
Yeah, good morning, Coach. I was wondering if you could just kind of describe your philosophy and how you went about building a program there. You don't have a lot of bells and whistles, and how you play offense. You don't spread it out and throw it all over the field. Just going to talk about how you went about things.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the very first thing is our staff identified, philosophically, just what type of guy we're going to be able to attract and develop and maintain here at NDSU. And typically, the part of the country we're from, we're going to have to leverage the fact that we've got a lot of big, strong kids. We don't have an abundance amount of speed in our geographical area. It doesn't mean that we don't have some speed on our football team. So we looked at that and said, for us to be successful, we're going to have to be, a hard-nosed, physical, disciplined team that I think your assessment's pretty accurate. We're not a lot of bells and whistles. We're not a spread offense. We're not real flashy defense. We just chose to play physical, disciplined football. And so far, it's worked well for us.
Did your Nebraska background serve as a bit of a model for that?
I would say without question. Coach Osborne had a profound impact on me as far as, some of the things that he really believed were, the parts and pillars of a really solid program. One, to be able to run the football, and two, to be able to stop the run. Kind of knowing who you are and what you're going to need to have in your toolbox to get to where you want to go.
And lastly, you've never had a lot of, I don't think, transfers from big FBS schools like a lot of programs at this level. Why not? Why have you built it the way you have in that regard?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's lots of different ways to build a program. We've chosen to develop players here, try to redshirt them. We have signed a couple junior college guys, but we've just not done much with the FBS transfers. It's never been part of our makeup, and so we've done it more with high school talent and developed those guys.
Very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Your next question comes from the line of Todd Hesselman from the Southern Illinoisan.
Hey, Coach. Quarterback Brock Jensen's inching up on the wins mark for the FCS all time. When do you think you knew that he wasn't just going to be a guy that could run the offense, but a guy that could take the reins and literally, win the ball game for you?
Well, I think when he was a redshirt freshman, we missed Brock lion's share of the year. He had a separated shoulder and was able to come back and join us late in the year, and we got into playoffs. And we eventually lost to Eastern Washington, who won the national championship. But we lost him on a really controversial call. And during that game, you could see Brock's competitive nature. And I think the success that he had during that game, even though we came up, an inch short, I think that he made a significant impact on his confidence level and also for us. And so, that was really the foundation of saying, this guy's going to be our quarterback and we can win a lot of games with him.
And he also set the playoff record against Robert Morris earlier in the year, at his redshirt freshman season.
Boy, you know what? I don't know if he did or not. I just know he's played a lot of football for us.
Yeah. Did you know? I mean, you recruit guys, and you always think, obviously, you always think they're going to be terrific, and some of them just don't pan out. Did you think he was for sure? Did you feel better about him than most recruits at quarterback?
You know what? What we felt good about was his track record. He's from a smaller town in the state of Wisconsin, in the northern part of Wisconsin, grew up loving the Green Bay Packers, and won the state championship. He had a great track record of winning. Now, you take a small town Wisconsin guy and project him into, an FCS high-profile player. That's a difficult projection. But once he got on campus, he exceeded, our estimation. He only's gotten better while he's been here.
Thank you.
You bet.
Your next question comes from the line of Mike McFeely from KFGO Radio.
Back when he said no to the Bison job, why he did that, and he said it was because there was no conference in place at the time. When you took the job, do you recall if those things were in place to get in the Valley Conference, or did you take the job with no guarantees of being in a conference?
Yeah, Mike, I took the job with no guarantees. I knew there was a commitment by our administration to do everything we could to secure a conference, and just we made an educated guess that our football program would develop to the point that a conference might find us attractive, and that's exactly what's happened.
Were there nervous moments that when you didn't think because playing independent's impossible? I mean, you know that. Were there nervous times?
Well, we were just trying to figure out a way to win we were taking all comers at that time. We were scheduling 2 FBS schools, and I think one year we beat Central Michigan and Minnesota in the same year, and we didn't know what was going to happen. I know Gene was working behind the scenes, and we just felt like we just needed to keep knocking on doors before something popped, and we were fortunate that we were able to get into Missouri Valley.
Thank you.
You bet.
Coach, that was your last question. Thank you for your time this morning. Good luck against Missouri State on Saturday.
You bet. I know.
Thanks. All right, bye-bye. Mike Sanford of Indiana State has joined us. Indiana State on the road to play in Vermillion for the first time in school history, playing South Dakota. South Dakota coming off of a last-minute victory against Missouri State last week for their first ever Missouri Valley Conference victory. Morning, Coach.
Good morning. How are we doing?
Good. Let's talk about South Dakota. They went over a quarterback change with the new quarterback last week, Kevin Earl, playing for the first time, but he played against Indiana State at your place last year, and talk a little bit about the Coyotes and what you need to do to win up there.
Well, the first thing is, I have a lot of respect for their head coach, Joe Glenn. He and I were opposing coaches in the Mountain West Conference when I was at UNLV and he was at Wyoming. So I've known him for a long time, have a lot of respect for him. Great coach. And they are they're a much improved team. Since last year, much improved team. They present a lot of challenges. They're very good on defense, and this quarterback can really throw it. And so we've got our work cut out for us, and got to win. We have not won on the road yet. We've got to win on the road. It's a big thing for us. And we're going into an environment that nobody here knows about. We've been trying to find out as much information about the whole thing as possible. The interesting thing is, I've been calling it the Rand McNally trip, or the Google Maps trip. We are flying into Sioux City, Iowa. We're staying in Sioux City, Nebraska, and we're playing in Vermillion, South Dakota. So we're going places that a lot of us have never been before. So it's going to be a interesting trip. But like I said earlier, have a ton of respect for Joe Glenn and a ton of respect for this team.
Thanks, Mike. Hopefully the game, for your perspective, isn't as crazy as the trip.
It's wild, and it sounds worse than it is. Sioux City, Iowa, and Sioux City, Nebraska are right across the river from each other, so it's not as strange as it sounds. But it is interesting that we're going to be in 3 different states.
And make sure the kids get a postcard.
That's right.
Let's go ahead and open it up for some questions from the media for Coach Mike Sanford.
Your first question comes from the line of Todd Hesserman from the Southern Illinois.
Hey, Mike, the quarterback, I know he threw a pick six early in the game, but he ends up almost setting the school record. Have you seen some improvement for him since the start of the season?
Well, it's interesting. You're talking about Mike Parrish, correct?
Yeah.
Mike is a very good decision maker for the most part. The only time he is a bad decision maker is when he tries to force the ball and try to make some plays on his own. he's trying to make happen on his own that aren't part of the design. That play was a backbreaker for us because we were in the red zone. We were going in. We had 3 times in the red zone in the first half where we ended up with only 3 points. We drove it the whole length of the field and ended up, we got 1 field goal. We got 1 field goal bounced off the crossbar or the upright, and then we threw the interception for a touchdown. So that's the way I look at it, 3 points versus 21 points, a big difference. So, I have a lot of respect for Mike. I think Mike's a good decision maker for the most part, accurate passer. I like him a lot. We've just got to eliminate the mistakes, eliminate the turnovers, and we got to score in the red zone. And so I would say Mike would be playing a lot better if we scored in the red zone we scored touchdowns in the red zone in those 3 situations.
What do you think has to get better about your ground game, your run game right now?
Just in general, we've got to be. We have to. Let me start with personnel. We have only really had Shakir Bell for half of Indiana. He played quite a bit against Tennessee Tech, and then was out of. Tried to play last week, but didn't really play. So, we are. We need to get Shakir Bell going. I think that's the first thing. Second thing is we need to block better. We need to sustain blocks better. We need to our run. We need to have much better detail and discipline in our run game. I think we need to run the ball more, just in general. This last game we ended up getting into a little bit of we got behind and some things happened. We ended up becoming, throwing the ball a lot more than I'd like to. I'd like to be more balanced, and so some of that is going to be Shakir Bell. Some of that is we got to be better, and some of it we need to run the ball more.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Your next question comes from the line of Nick Gary from the August Leader.
Coach, first of all, the 3 places you're going, they all kind of look the same.
Where are you from, by the way?
I live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, all right. That would be a 4th place. But you kind of had your way with these guys last year. Pretty impressive performance. What were some things that went on in that game?
Well, the first thing I'll say is has nothing to do with your question, but I have a really good friend, Jed Stugart, who's the head coach at University of Sioux Falls, where you are.
Yep.
So
good.
Anyway,
I know too. Good guy.
Yeah, he is a good guy. Anyway, it's interesting that you asked that because I was not here last year. I'm a new head coach. Was hired in December, and I think it's 2 different teams. I think South Dakota was a different team last year, and I think Indiana State was a different team last year, and I think South Dakota is tremendously improved from what they were last year and from what I've seen, and so it's hard for me to compare because of the fact I wasn't here. Number one, number two, just because I think they're a tremendously improved team.
Thank you.
All right, that was your final question. Thank you for your time, and good luck on your trip.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We have Dale Lennon of Southern Illinois with us. The Salukis headed to Cedar Falls to play Northern Iowa. Panthers ranked number 4 and number 5. Southern coming off of a big win on the road at South Dakota State last week. Morning, Dale.
You there?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Now I got you.
And I can hear you. Great. Let's talk about the Panthers. They are an excellent football team. Their only loss, a 1-point loss at North Dakota State in a game which they had the lead, and North Dakota State scored 14 in the final quarter. And of course, Coach's son got hurt in the game, is out for the year, and not having Jake is certainly a big blow to the Panthers. But talk about the game on Saturday.
Yeah, well, Northern Iowa, they're a well-coached football team, and they're playing that way too. So if you look at their numbers, they're doing the things they want to do on offense, scoring over 32 points per game. You look at what they do defensively. They don't give up many scores. They're only giving up 14 points per game. You look at the teams that they've played. They've played some top-level competition. So they're doing this against very competitive schools, and they had a chance to knock North Dakota State off at the Fargo Dome, and just came up a little short. So they're the real deal, and I think they're one of the best teams in the FCS, and that's what we got to be ready for.
Thank you, Coach. Let's go ahead and open it up for some questions for Coach Dale Lennon. Coach, while those questions assemble, talk a little bit about the gauntlet of your schedule. This will be your third straight ranked opponent and likely fourth in a row following this one with North Dakota State next on the 19th. Talk a little bit about surviving this path and getting through it and then moving on to the rest of the schedule.
Yeah, the schedule is definitely a little top-heavy for us, and but this has just become a standard game prep for us. So it's helped us somewhat get ready for that type of mentality where we know we're going to be playing top teams week in, week out, and we know the challenge is significant going to play Northern Iowa, but we've already been playing top-ranked teams, so it's just another week of Saluki football, and and that's how we're taking it, just 1 week at a time, not trying to look at the long stretch, and we'll see how we come out of it.
Coach, and talk about winning a close one last week. You've had some close calls this year where you didn't come out on top, and then finally getting a victory against a good football team on the road. What does that do to the team mentality? How is practice going, and how does it affect the team when they can finally get over the hump and winning a close game like that?
Well, that was a big win for us. We needed to win a game in that fashion where, defensively especially, you make a stop that ends up winning the game for you, and just for the fact that we've had several that have gone against us, and it's confidence, and I think we're getting better each week. I think the attitude within the team has really stayed strong, and but you need success, and that's finally what we achieved last week, is just that successful conclusion to a hard-fought game, and now we know we can do it, so hopefully we can keep building on it.
Surprisingly, no questions are in the queue for you, so we'll go ahead and let you go. Appreciate your time this morning, and good luck at Northern Iowa.
All right, thanks, Mike. See you.
Great, thanks. And we will segue into Southern Illinois' opponent. We do have Coach Mark Farley on the line with us. Panthers sitting at number 4 in the nation, sitting at 4-1 with just one conference loss last week in North Dakota State. Hi, Mark.
Good morning.
Mark, certainly well wishes to you and Lori and Jake, and hopefully a speedy recovery, and hopefully he's feeling better after the injury on Saturday.
Thanks for saying that. Yeah, it was a tough deal, but it was part of the game, and you just got to heal now. So we're moving forward, get ready for Southern Illinois.
Let's talk about the Salukis. They are coming off of a big road victory at South Dakota State last week. They won it in a close fashion. The game they had to rally, and they've lost several like that this year where they didn't come out on top. Talk a little bit about the dangerous team that Dale Lennon is bringing to town.
Well, they've always done a great job against us over all the years, and so you just go back to those games. I just know that Southern's always a confident football team, and they're always prepared well. So he's got good speed. I look at some of his offensive personnel. He's got great speed on offense, and he runs that 3-4 defense, and he's really picked up some nice personnel there. So I'm sure the more they play, the better they get.
Thank you, Coach. Let's go ahead and open it up for some questions for the media for Coach Mark Farley.
Your first question comes from the line of Jeff Kolpak from Fargo Foreman.
Hey, Mark, last we heard you accompanied Jake to the hospital. What happened after that? Did you have to stay here? Or?
Yeah, we actually went to Sanford Hospital and made the decision there. We had to make the decision there whether to have surgery in Fargo or come back to Cedar Falls to have it. And we decided to do it there. And the hospital was great. The nurses, the doctors. I mean, we couldn't have had a better situation to come out of a terrible situation. And then what we did is, how we were treated and the care that he got there. So it turned out to be a great decision. And he actually had surgery. Probably it was about 9 o'clock that night. He had surgery at Sanford Hospital, and then we were released right around 2 o'clock on Sunday. And then we flew home and probably got home around 5 o'clock or so on Sunday.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Your next question comes from the line of Todd Hefferman from Southern Illinois.
Hey, Coach. As far as your linebackers go, does Max Busher move into the middle spot, or are you going to move Gakey or Sam Tim over there, or what do you plan to do with that?
Well, as I see it right now, Max Busher will start where Jake was at the will linebacker spot, but I'm also looking at some other things there as well. So, but Max prepared and ready to go, and he was his backup and did a nice job for us. He's played some games before, so it won't be new to him. It's just I'm trying to look at the big picture as much as just getting ready for this week, because we got a long season left here too. So I want to start getting the right guys ready. So if another injury occurs, we're ready to go.
Right, and then SIU's offense, they've done a lot of different things this year. How do you try to look at their diversity, and what challenges does that have as far as where they run and how many different people they run the ball with?
Well, that's what makes this a difficult week. I mean, with the adjustments that we've been forced to make now, and then we're coming with a fairly complex offense thrown at us. So. We're going to have to do a great job preparing. That's why Max will start. I mean, we'll just continue on with Max. But again, they do a great job, like you said, of substituting, getting people in and out of the game, multiple formations and alignments. And I think he got a great quarterback. I think he does a heck of a job, and he's always done a good job against us. So, those are the things that we're up against this week, and then so. Yeah, that's a challenge, and getting the energy back and the level that we need to get to play at to be able to play Southern.
And I'd read that David Johnson had a hip pointer. Do you expect him to practice this week, or is he going to take today off? This is your first day of practice this week?
Yeah, this is our first day of practice, so we'll see when we get to practice. Where he's at with things, because he did get nicked up in that in the North Dakota State game right at the end. So we'll find out a lot today, throughout practice and during practice of where we're at, and then we'll move from there.
Thank you.
Mark, that was your final question. Thank you for your time this morning. Good luck against Southern Illinois on Saturday.
You bet. Thanks.
Great. Thanks. This does wrap up our call. We thank everybody for their participation. We'll see some of you this Saturday in Macomb, and the rest of you, we'll talk to you next week. Thanks.